The AR-15 has earned its reputation as America's favorite rifle platform through decades of proven reliability, endless customization, and outstanding performance. But not every rifle wearing the AR-15 name deserves your money. As demand exploded, many manufacturers rushed low-quality rifles onto the market, cutting corners with cheap materials, poor assembly, and questionable quality control, while hiding those flaws behind flashy marketing and aggressive pricing. Some of these rifles look impressive sitting on a gun store shelf, but once they're put through real use, the problems begin to appear. From cracked receivers and unreliable cycling to poor machining and weak internal components, these rifles can quickly turn excitement into frustration. Today, we're counting down 10 AR-15s that have developed some of the worst reputations among experienced shooters. If you're thinking about buying your first AR or adding another one to your collection, you'll want to know which models are worth avoiding before you spend your hard-earned money. Let's get started. Number 10. ATI Omni Hybrid Max. At first glance, the ATI Omni Hybrid Max looks like an incredible bargain. It's lightweight, inexpensive, and packed with features that seem surprisingly generous for the price. For many first-time buyers, that's exactly what makes it so tempting. Unfortunately, once you look beneath the surface, the compromises become much harder to ignore. Instead of using a traditional forged aluminum receiver, like most proven AR-15s, ATI relies heavily on polymer construction reinforced with zinc inserts. While that approach helps reduce both weight and manufacturing costs, it also introduces long-term durability concerns. Polymer and metal expand differently under heat, and after repeated firing, that mismatch can create unwanted stress throughout the rifle. Owners have reported problems ranging from loose components and declining accuracy to excessive wear around critical areas like the buffer tube and receiver extension. The lightweight composite fire control parts are another concern, as they simply don't offer the same longevity as traditional steel components after thousands of rounds. For casual range trips, the rifle may perform well enough, but if you're looking for an AR you can trust for defensive use or serious training, many shooters believe there are far better choices available in the same price range. Would you trust a rifle built around polymer receivers? Or would you rather spend a little more for forged aluminum? Number 9. Plum Crazy Gen 2. The Plum Crazy Gen 2 was introduced with one bold promise: replace traditional aluminum with advanced polymer and make the AR-15 lighter, cheaper, and easier for budget-conscious shooters to own. On paper, it sounded like an innovative idea. In reality, it became one of the most controversial budget AR-15s ever produced. Nearly the entire lower receiver is molded from glass-filled polymer instead of forged aluminum. While the rifle includes a standard 16-inch 5.56 NATO barrel and an aluminum M-Loke handguard to give it a modern appearance, much of its internal structure depends on lightweight polymer components that simply weren't designed to withstand years of heavy use. One of the biggest complaints centers on the fire control group. The polymer trigger and hammer tend to wear much faster than traditional steel parts. As the engagement surfaces begin to round off, the trigger can become inconsistent, gritty, and far less predictable than shooters expect from a reliable AR platform. Another major concern is the polymer buffer tube assembly. Under repeated recoil and prolonged heat, the receiver threads have been known to weaken over time. In more serious cases, shooters have reported stripped threads or failures around the receiver extension, leaving the rifle completely out of action. The rifle's low price may be appealing, especially for first-time buyers trying to save money, but many experienced AR owners recommend avoiding it altogether. Spending a little more on a rifle with forged aluminum receivers and proven internals will usually provide far greater reliability, durability, and peace of mind over the long run. When a rifle is built around cutting costs instead of maximizing durability, the savings at the cash register can quickly disappear once reliability becomes a concern. Number 8. Bear Creek Arsenal BC-15. Bear Creek Arsenal built its reputation around one simple idea: offer complete AR-15 rifles at prices that almost no competitor could match. For budget-minded buyers, that sounds like an easy win. But when reliability is your top priority, the BC-15 has developed a reputation that makes many experienced shooters think twice. On paper, the rifle checks many of the right boxes. It features forged 7.75 T6 aluminum receivers, a 16-inch 5.56 barrel, a free-float M-Lock handguard, and a standard direct impingement operating system. At first glance, it looks remarkably similar to rifles costing hundreds of dollars more. The problem lies in quality control. One BC-15 might run flawlessly for thousands of rounds, while another can leave the factory with issues before it ever reaches the range. Owners have reported improperly machined gas ports, rough feed ramps that cause feeding problems, and gas keys that weren't properly staked, allowing them to loosen after relatively little use. These aren't flaws that affect every rifle, but they appear often enough to give the platform an inconsistent reputation. There are also concerns about long-term durability. Some shooters have experienced premature wear on bolt lugs, while others found their rifles to be overgassed from the factory. An overgassed rifle cycles harder than necessary, increasing recoil and accelerating wear on internal components over time. That's what makes the BC-15 such a gamble. You might receive a perfectly functional rifle, or you might end up spending additional time and money replacing parts, troubleshooting malfunctions, or sending it back for repairs. When buying an AR-15, consistency matters just as much as price. A dependable rifle should perform the same way every time you pull the trigger, not leave you wondering whether you happen to get one of the good ones. Number 7. Radical Firearms FR-16 Early and Mid-Generation Models. Radical Firearms entered the AR-15 market with an attractive promise. Deliver feature-packed rifles at entry-level prices. Free-float handguards, forged receivers, and modern styling made the FR-16 look like a premium rifle without the premium price tag. Unfortunately, many of the company's early and mid-generation rifles struggled to live up to that image. To keep production moving quickly and costs under control, quality control wasn't always as consistent as buyers expected. While recent Radical Firearms rifles have earned a much better reputation, the earlier production runs became well known for assembly problems that affected reliability. The rifle itself uses forged 7075 T6 aluminum upper and lower receivers, a free-float aluminum handguard, a standard direct impingement system, and a mil-spec trigger. On paper, those specifications are perfectly respectable. The trouble comes from how some of those components were assembled. One of the most common complaints involved improperly installed gas blocks. In some rifles, the gas block wasn't aligned correctly from the factory, causing gas leaks and inconsistent cycling. Shooters experienced failures to feed, short stroking, or rifles that simply refused to run reliably after only a few magazines. Owners also reported weak hardware securing the gas key and handguard. After repeated firing and heat buildup, screws could gradually loosen or even fail entirely, turning what should have been a dependable rifle into an ongoing maintenance project. The frustrating part is that not every FR-16 suffered from these issues. Some owners had excellent experiences, while others dealt with multiple reliability problems almost immediately. That inconsistency is exactly why the early FR-16 developed such a mixed reputation in the AR-15 community. If you're shopping the used market and come across one of these older Radical Firearms rifles at an attractive price, it's worth taking the time to verify exactly when it was manufactured. The newer generations are generally regarded as a significant improvement, but the earlier models remain ones that many experienced buyers approach with caution. Number 6. Delton Echo 376 Base Models. Delton built its reputation by supplying affordable AR-15 parts and rifle kits before eventually offering complete rifles like the Echo 366. The goal was simple: give first-time buyers and weekend shooters an inexpensive way to own an AR-15 without paying for premium features. For light recreational use, it can certainly fill that role, but its limitations become much more noticeable once you demand more from the rifle. The base Echo 316 uses forged 7075 T6 aluminum receivers, which is a solid foundation. It features a 16-inch 5.56 NATO barrel with a 1.9 twist, a traditional carbine-length direct impingement gas system, and a fixed A2 front sight. At a glance, there's nothing that immediately stands out as problematic. The compromises start with the barrel and internal components. Unlike many higher-quality AR-15s that use chrome-lined or advanced nitride-treated barrels, the base Echo 366 relies on a simpler 440 steel barrel with minimal protective treatment. For someone who only shoots occasionally, that may never become an issue. but frequent range sessions, rapid strings of fire, or intensive training can accelerate barrel wear and gradually reduce accuracy over time. Cost cutting also extends to several internal parts. The bolt carrier group isn't individually high-pressure tested, and some rifles have been reported with lightly staked gas keys that may loosen after extended use. The commercial spec buffer tube is another weak point, offering less strength than a true mil-spec assembly if the rifle experiences hard impacts. None of these issues automatically make the Echo 366 a bad rifle. In fact, many owners enjoy years of reliable service when using it strictly as a casual range gun. The concern is whether it's the rifle you want to rely on when absolute dependability matters most. That's the key difference. A rifle built for occasional target shooting isn't necessarily the same rifle you'd trust for home defense, emergency preparedness, or high round count training. If those are your priorities, investing a little more upfront often buys a significant increase in durability and long-term confidence. Number 5. Black Rain Ordnance. For Spec 15 series, few AR-16 manufacturers have invested as heavily in eye-catching styling as Black Rain Ordnance. Their rifles are instantly recognizable thanks to bold Cerakote finishes, custom engravings, and aggressive tactical branding. At first glance, the BRO Spec 15 looks like a premium rifle built for serious use. The question is whether the performance matches the price. Mechanically, the rifle starts with forged 7075 T6 aluminum receivers, a standard mil-spec trigger, a phosphate-coated bolt carrier group, and a 16-inch barrel chambered in 5.56 NATO. These are perfectly respectable components, but they're also very similar to what you'll find in many entry-level AR-15s that cost significantly less. That's where many shooters begin to question the value. A large portion of this purchase price goes toward the rifle's appearance, rather than meaningful performance upgrades. Instead of premium features like a cold hammer-forged barrel, an enhanced trigger, or a top-tier bolt carrier group, buyers are often paying for custom finishes, laser engravings, and cosmetic details that don't improve reliability or accuracy. For someone who wants a unique-looking rifle and enjoys collecting custom firearms, that may be perfectly acceptable. But if your goal is getting the best performance for your money, there are plenty of competitors offering stronger components at the same or even lower price point. Another criticism frequently raised by experienced AR owners is that the rifle simply doesn't provide enough mechanical advantages to justify its premium cost. Strip away the distinctive finish and branding, and what's left is a fairly conventional AR-15 with standard mil-spec internals. There's nothing inherently wrong with buying a rifle because you like how it looks. But when two rifles perform nearly the same, and one costs several $100s less, many shooters would rather invest those savings in better optics, ammunition, magazines, or professional training. At the end of the day, appearance should always come second to reliability. A rifle earns its reputation on the range, not in the display case. Number 4. Spikes Tactical. For years, Spikes Tactical built one of the strongest brand identities in the AR-15 world. Their rifles became famous for bold logos, custom engravings, and distinctive styling that stood out from the crowd. Plenty of buyers loved the unique look, but critics argued that much of the premium price was paying for the name rather than meaningful performance improvements. From a construction standpoint, there's nothing particularly unusual about the rifle. It uses forged 7075 T6 aluminum upper and lower receivers, a 16-inch 5.56 NATO barrel made from 4-150 chrome moly vanadium steel, a standard phosphate-coated bolt carrier group with a Carpenter 158 bolt, and a typical mil-spec stock assembly. These are respectable components, but they're also common across dozens of competing AR-15s. That's exactly where the debate begins. Many experienced shooters point out that once you strip away the distinctive logos and custom branding, the rifle performs much like other quality mil-spec AR-15s that sell for several $100s less. While the overall reliability is generally solid, the performance advantage simply isn't dramatic enough to justify the premium asking price in the eyes of many buyers. The company earned a loyal following by creating rifles that looked different, and there's certainly nothing wrong with wanting a firearm that stands out. But if your primary goal is getting the most capability for every dollar spent, there are numerous manufacturers offering upgraded triggers, premium barrels, enhanced bolt carrier groups, or fully ambidextrous controls for similar or even lower prices. Another factor to consider is value over time. The extra money spent on branding could instead go toward a quality optic, additional magazines, a case of ammunition, or professional training. Investments that often improve your shooting experience far more than a custom logo ever will. Spike's Tactical doesn't necessarily produce a bad rifle. In fact, many owners are perfectly satisfied with theirs. The criticism comes down to value. When a rifle costs substantially more than competitors with nearly identical specifications, experienced buyers naturally begin asking whether the premium is really justified. For shooters who prioritize performance above everything else, the answer is often no. Number 3. Early Bushmaster Carbon 15. When the Bushmaster Carbon 15 first hit the market, it attracted a lot of attention for one reason: weight. At a time when most AR-15s tipped the scales at around 7 to 8 pounds, the Carbon 15 promised an ultra-lightweight alternative that would be easier to carry all day. For hunters, hikers, and recreational shooters, that sounded like a major advantage. To achieve those impressive weight savings, Bushmaster replaced the traditional forged aluminum upper and lower receivers with carbon fiber composite construction. The rifle also featured a lightweight 16-inch barrel, a simplified design that eliminated certain non-essential components on some models, and standard mil-spec controls. On paper, it looked like an innovative step forward. Unfortunately, the lightweight design came with significant compromises. The biggest concern centered on the composite receiver itself. Unlike forged aluminum, carbon fiber composite doesn't handle repeated recoil forces and sustained heat in quite the same way. As round counts increased, some owners reported cracks forming around high-stress areas, particularly near the buffer tube and receiver extension. That became one of the platform's most criticized weaknesses. The threaded area supporting the buffer tube could wear or fail over time, especially on rifles that saw heavy use. In severe cases, damage to that section could render the rifle inoperable and require expensive repairs, or complete replacement of the receiver. Another drawback was long-term durability. While the rifle performed adequately for casual shooting, many experienced AR owners questioned whether it was built to withstand intensive training, high-volume range sessions, or defensive use. The pursuit of extreme weight reduction simply came at the expense of structural strength. It's worth noting that later Bushmaster designs addressed several of these concerns, but the early Carbon 15 models continue to carry a mixed reputation on the used market. If you're considering buying one today because of its attractive price, it's important to know exactly which generation you're looking at. Saving a pound or two may sound appealing, but when choosing an AR-15, most shooters would rather carry a slightly heavier rifle than wonder whether the receiver will stand up to years of hard use. Number 2. Olympic Arms K-Series. Olympic Arms was once considered one of the pioneers of the civilian AR-15 market. Long before dozens of manufacturers entered the industry, the company was already producing rifles for shooters looking for an alternative to Colt. For many years, Olympic Arms helped make the AR-15 platform more accessible, but some of its later budget models left behind a far less impressive legacy. To compete in an increasingly crowded market, the company focused heavily on lowering production costs. One of the biggest changes was the use of cast aluminum receivers on certain K-series rifles instead of the stronger forged receivers found on most modern AR-15s. While casting reduced manufacturing expenses, it also introduced durability concerns that would eventually damage the rifle's reputation. Internally, the K-series often relied on proprietary components rather than standard mil-spec parts. That may not seem like a major issue until something breaks. Because many of these parts weren't interchangeable with common AR-15 components, repairs could quickly become difficult and expensive. After Olympic Arms permanently closed its doors in 2017, finding replacement parts became even more challenging, leaving many owners with rifles that are increasingly difficult to maintain. Another criticism involves manufacturing consistency. Some rifles were reported to have receiver dimensions that varied enough to create compatibility issues with aftermarket triggers, bolt carrier groups, or other popular upgrades. For a platform known for endless customization, that's a significant disadvantage. Durability is another concern that continues to follow the K-series on the used market. Cast receivers generally don't offer the same strength as forged 7075T6 aluminum, and under years of repeated recoil and heavy use, some owners experienced cracks developing around high-stress areas of the receiver. That doesn't mean every Olympic arms rifle is unreliable. Many examples have served their owners well for years. However, buying one today comes with additional risks. The company no longer exists, factory warranty support is gone, replacement parts can be difficult to source, and many rifles are now decades old with unknown maintenance histories. When shopping for a used AR-15, long-term support matters almost as much as the rifle itself. Even a dependable firearm eventually needs replacement parts, and choosing a discontinued platform can turn a simple repair into a frustrating search. Number 1. Core Rifle Systems Core 15. Core Rifle Systems entered the AR-15 market with an ambitious goal: offer an affordable rifle that looked and felt like a premium-duty firearm without carrying a premium price tag. The company promoted itself heavily, targeting first-time buyers who wanted modern features at a competitive cost. Unfortunately, behind the marketing, the rifle developed a reputation for manufacturing issues that ultimately overshadowed its potential. At first glance, the Core 15 appears to have all the right ingredients. It features forged 7075 T6 aluminum upper and lower receivers, a standard mil-spec trigger, a Carpenter 158 bolt housed in a phosphate-coated bolt carrier group, and a familiar direct impingement operating system. On paper, those specifications are exactly what many buyers look for in an entry-level AR-15. The biggest problem wasn't the design, it was the execution. One of the most common complaints involved poorly machined chambers. Owners reported extraction problems after firing, especially when using steel-cased ammunition. Instead of ejecting spent cases smoothly, some rifles experienced stuck casings that required significant force, or even a cleaning rod to clear. A malfunction like that can instantly take a rifle out of action when reliability matters most. Quality control issues didn't stop there. Reports also included improperly aligned gas ports, loosely secured gas keys, and rough, inconsistent trigger pulls. While not every rifle suffered from every problem, the number of recurring complaints created enough concern to damage the platform's reputation among experienced shooters. Another challenge is that Core Rifle Systems is no longer in business. That means factory warranty support has disappeared, replacement parts specific to the platform can be difficult to source, and buyers are left relying entirely on the used market if repairs become necessary. Buying any used firearm requires careful inspection, but that becomes even more important when the original manufacturer is no longer around to stand behind the product. Even an attractive price tag can't make up for uncertainty when long-term support no longer exists. For many experienced AR owners, the Core 15 represents an important lesson. A rifle should be judged by its reliability, consistency, and long-term durability, not simply by the features listed on the box or the price on the tag. A low price can be tempting, especially when two rifles look almost identical sitting side by side in the gun store. But as we've seen today, the differences often lie where you can't immediately see them: in the materials, machining, assembly, and quality control. A dependable AR-15 isn't just another purchase, it's an investment in reliability. Spend a little more on a rifle with a proven track record can save you from costly repairs, frustrating malfunctions, and disappointing range trips down the road. Of course, no manufacturer is perfect, and individual experiences will always vary. Some owners have had good luck with rifles on today's list, while others have encountered significant problems. That's why researching real-world performance, reading long-term owner reviews, and inspecting any used rifle carefully are just as important as comparing specifications. Now we'd like to hear from you. Have you owned any of these AR-15s? Did your experience match their reputation, or did your rifle prove the critics wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this countdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next review. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.